have the privilege of introducing our patient's story. Our guest is Michaela Davert. We have come to know Michaela really through some of the partnerships that we talked about last night, specifically the Harm Study Group, ISSG, and several of us have gotten to know Michaela over the weeks and months leading up to this. Relentless, unstoppable, the words that Adam has put forward to us. You will see, as I have learned, that Michaela embodies those words incredibly in how she has and continues to approach her healthcare journey. So without further ado, I ask everyone to stand and let's give a very warm DePuy Synthes Spine welcome to our guest, my friend, Michaela. Michaela, come on up.
Pride built a warrior I keep inside. No more fear, no more chains. I've been broken, but I've healed the pain. Took the fall, but I rose again. Now I'm ready, let the games begin. I'm stronger than before. You can't break me anymore. Through the dark, through the pain, I found my power in the rain.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michaela Davert, and it is the honor of my life to be sitting on this stage with you today. I am not here on this stage by chance, and if you would have told me 5 years ago that I would be standing on this stage, I wouldn't have imagined that in my wildest dreams. My story is one that is not common, but it matters, and it is an honor to share it with all of you. I was born with a physical disability called osteogenesis imperfecta, and it is a connective tissue disorder that affects, it makes my bones extremely fragile. I've had over 100 fractures throughout my lifetime and 31 surgeries. One of the most common comorbidities with osteogenesis imperfecta is scoliosis, and I never imagined what that journey would look like for me. I never wanted it to be a part of my journey, but I wanted to share a little bit about how I ended up here on this stage. I was honored at the Setting Scoliosis Great Gala in 2025 in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I met Russell Powers. I got to share a very quick snippet of my story with him, and he came up to me and said that he wanted me to share my story at the national sales meeting this year. And I have to be honest, I'm putting him on the spot, he doesn't know I'm going to say this, but I thought it was a nice sentiment. I didn't know that he actually meant it. And so when I got the official invite several months later, I was super, super honored. As I mentioned, I have had scoliosis all my life. It was never the most prominent issue that I've had with my disability. In fact, I'll talk about this later, but I share my life on social media, and I have a YouTube video of me, and someone asked me if I've ever had scoliosis surgery, and I said no, and I probably would never, due to the risks that it poses to me with the challenges that having osteogenesis imperfecta comes with. Many patients with OI do have scoliosis and do have the surgery, but for me, my risks were much more great, and we didn't know if it would even be possible. And so as I've grown older and continued to have more challenges with my scoliosis, my surgeon, Dr. Michelle Caird, and I have had many discussions about whether or not to put me through the surgery and what those risks look like. And I didn't know if I would make it. They couldn't guarantee me any outcome that I would have. But the reason that I'm able to be on this stage today is because 18 of the 20 pieces of hardware that are holding up my spine right now are DePuy Synthes. And I know all of you go to work every day and might not know if you make a difference. In fact, how many of you in this crowd have ever asked yourself if what I'm doing matters? I hope that me being on this stage, I know I'm not the only patient that you've impacted, but if I am the only one, I pray that would be enough. Because the gifts that I've been given through people that I don't even know that have made this possible for me me is the greatest gift, and I'm able to live the most fulfilling life because of the journey that I said yes to. Most patients go through scoliosis and they don't think that it is going to be a big surgery or it has as many risks as it does for me, but this is a snippet of some of the conversations that my surgeon and I had on what the surgery could look like for me. One of the challenges with OI is pulmonary deficits and challenges, and so due to the length of surgery that my spine would need, we didn't know if I would be able to maintain spontaneous ventilation after surgery. So the biggest concern was that I would need a trach to survive after surgery. And I have a few friends with trachs and they live really fulfilling lives, but nothing could ever prepare you for that possibility. But I was given a life expectancy of 10 years or less to live if I didn't have the surgery. And when you're 20 years old at the time, that's not something you want to hear. Most of my friends were going off to college and planning their career, and I had to make a life-altering decision. And I didn't struggle much before surgery. I didn't have a lot of the health challenges that many patients with the severe scoliosis that I have patients often experience. And to this day, my medical team doesn't really have an answer as to why I was able to compensate so well for so many years with my scoliosis. But as much as I trust my team, they've been with me for 16 years. I consulted other surgeons across the country, and I didn't want to make a life-altering decision based on one opinion, and know that I had all the information that I could to make the best decision that I could. Growing up, my parents were always very fearful of me having scoliosis surgery because if something ever did go wrong, that was a burden that they didn't want to carry. And so that was part of the reason that I waited until adulthood to have these conversations. And so this is a similar email to many of the emails that I received from surgeons across the country. Not many of them thought that I might not even make it off the table. And so you would think that by having more surgeons say it won't be possible, then it would be possible, that would sway my decision. But even then, I felt this pull, and I wasn't ready to give up. I didn't want to be given a life-limiting diagnosis. And so I put my trust in God and my team to carry me through this. I felt like this was something that I needed to do. And so on September 14th, 2020, in the middle of COVID, I had my halo traction surgery. I had an incredible team to carry me through that, and I was in halo traction for 14 weeks. My hospital sends patients home in halo traction, and so I embarked on that journey. At home, I was in halo for, like I said, 14 weeks, and I actually loved being in halo traction. It was a really great experience. I felt so much relief from that, and not too many people can have a smile on their face when they have 9 screws bolted into their head, but in that moment, I faced so many challenges throughout my life and been told that I shouldn't have been born and been told that I can't and I won't throughout my whole entire life. And this was another example where I was told by people that same thing. And my motto is, tell me I can't and I'll show you that God can. And so I said yes to the impossible. And so I had the strength to carry through those 14 weeks. And this was during COVID. And I also want to share, I know there's surgeons in the room. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm drawn to say what's right. Patients were neglected during that time. Patients were left isolated. And surgeons were afraid to stand up to hospital administrations to fight for their patients. I had to go through the scariest, worst time of my life alone, without the support of my friends, with my family. And that was one of the hardest parts of my journey. Some days, that was even harder than having 9 screws bolted into my head, because we're not supposed to embark on these challenges alone. We need Health care is not just a one-system process. It's just as important for your mental health as it is for your physical health. This is my service dog, Chloe. She was a huge part of my recovery as well. Sadly, she actually passed away a few days before I came here suddenly, and she was a huge part of my recovery and was right there by my side. So as isolated as I was so grateful to have her during that time. My team created a system to connect my heel traction to my wheelchair, so I was able to be up and mobile. They've actually never connected a heel traction system to a power wheelchair before, so this was also a new endeavor for them, but it was really incredible, and heel traction gave me so much support. So several months later, it was time for my spinal fusion surgery. This photo speaks volumes to me because these are the risks that I had to consent to that day. And for your surgeons here, I want you to know that I never want this to feel routine to you. I want you to feel confident, but just know, no matter how many times you've done this is not routine for your patients. I think so often surgeons forget what they're asking of their patient, the trust that they have to put in their patient and the decisions they're asking them to make, and I never want that to feel routine because for me, my case was very unique. And so of course, these risks were more real to me than other patients. I know a lot of these things won't happen for 99% of patients, but like I said, for me, these were real risks, and they were so much higher for me than any other patients that my surgeon has ever operated on. But she knew my will and want to live, and had the confidence to do everything she could to carry me through this, to give me the best outcome possible, to live a full and fulfilling life, and hopefully live past the age of 30. On December 23rd, 2020, 2 days before Christmas, the impossible became possible. After 10 hours, I woke up from spine surgery and to a miracle. I didn't have a trach attached to my neck. We made the decision prior to surgery to leave me intubated for 24 hours after surgery to give my lungs the best chance to make it through the surgery without complications. And actually, in pre-op, I told my surgeon that she prepared me to possibly be intubated for 2 days, and I said, oh no, I'm coming off the ventilator tomorrow. And she looked at me like I was a little too optimistic with that one. And through God's grace, I did come off the ventilator that morning without any complication. And that moment was the greatest moment of my life. I woke up and I wasn't paralyzed. I didn't have any of the scary risks that they were worried about. My surgeon doesn't have any explanation for it. In fact, they rarely have patients who don't need a blood transfusion with this type of surgery, and I didn't even need a blood transfusion. There's so many miracles throughout this day, and it just, to this day, it never gets old to me when I think about waking up from that moment. But everyone tells me that I was so brave for going through this and having the surgery, but to me, bravery isn't doing something in the absence of fear, it's doing something even when you're fearful. In all the surgeries I've ever had, I've never been more afraid in my entire life because I didn't know what life would look like for me. I didn't know if I would even make it out alive of surgery. These were all questions that my team didn't have promises to, but I knew I wanted to try, and growing up I always wondered what if I did. I would always have that what if, and I knew by making this decision that I would never have that what if. I would know I made the best decision with the information that I had. It was not a simple recovery. It was not an in and out process. For me, a week later, I was still in the hospital due to pain management, and I woke up with loss of all feeling in all four of my extremities, which was really scary and really odd because if I were to become paralyzed from the surgery, it would have happened during the surgery, not a week later. I actually had a resident tell me that it was just because I was stressed from being isolated and being alone. And so I said, if you don't get me an MRI machine right now, this whole hospital is going to hear about it. later, one of our biggest fears was that my spine wouldn't be able to hold the hardware. There's no treatment for OI, so the spine is still very weak. So that was another risk that I always knew that I could possibly need my surgery later in life, but I thought maybe I'd make it a little more than a week later. So I'm in pre-op again a week later to have it done again, and another 7-hour surgery. All the hardware had to come out and put back in, and they had to try a new method. And I would say the second time was even more scary than the first, only because here I was with the impossible, and then being told I would have to do it again. I thought, okay, I made it through 1, but can I make it through 2? Again, having to do this alone. And I was in the hospital for 28 days, but this is the before and after of my surgery, and I know this is all what you're probably most interested in, but this doesn't look like a miracle probably to most of you, because I don't have a straight spine. It will never be perfectly straight, but we weren't looking for perfection. We were looking for stability and giving me a little more time to be able to go and live and have these adventures in life. And I'm 27 years old, and this past weekend I got to see the ocean for the very first time. And when I think about this journey, these are the moments that I fought for. People ask me why I did this, and I say because life is worth fighting for. And that's become my motto as I went through this and as I continue to go throughout life. And this is not lost on me, what a gift I've been given, because of course it's easy for me to sit up here and say, I'm glad I did it, but of course I am, because it went well, and I realized how different my outcome could look and how different my life could look. And it's not a day that goes by that I'm not grateful for the outcome that I've been given and what my team has entrusted to do and support me throughout the way. And the tools that they use from DePuy Synthes has allowed me to live a fulfilling life. So today you may think, what am I doing here? Why am I here? But if I'm the only patient that you remember that your products have impacted, I hope that's enough. Because it might not feel like the world to you, but it means the world to me. And I hope that matters enough. Because of the second chance of life that I've been given, I've actually had a couple near-death experiences, but this was one of the biggest of all. Because of the incredible miracle that I've been given, I get to live this miracle every single day that I wake up. Every single day is a gift. And I live life to the fullest, and God has given me such incredible opportunities to share my outcome with the world. I share my life on social media under the username FunsizedStyle. I share what it's like to live with osteogenesis imperfecta. I share what it's like to be in heel attraction and live with scoliosis. I love to travel. I travel across the country and speak and share my story. I've been featured in People magazine. And, all of these things are great, and I'm really grateful, but you can't put a price on these opportunities. Every day that I'm able to wake up and be here means the absolute world to me. I think it's so important. I'm really grateful for my outcome, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this either, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm so grateful for the outcome that I've had. But because I have osteogenesis imperfecta, and there's no cure, there's no approved treatment that treats the root cause of OI, I live with the fear every day, will my hardware be able to continue to sustain me for the long haul? Because we don't know. My team really did something unorthodox due to the severity of my curve. Before surgery, I had a 150-degree curve and a 180-degree curve. And so it's a fear that I have every single day, because now I've been given this gift of what it's like to be on the other side. And so I never want to lose that. And so I think I'm up here on the stage sharing my outcome and sharing all the good that has and all the incredible people that I've gotten to meet in this fulfilling life that I've been able to live because my team and I said yes to the impossible. But I think it's so important to continue to innovate for patients like myself. DePuy Synthes is one of the only companies in the world that has hardware small enough for my anatomy. So my surgeons had very limited options of what to use to best support my spine. So I never want you guys to think that, what I have is good enough and to forget, to always improve, to always make things better for patients, because I'm living proof that that matters. 30 years ago, we wouldn't have the products and the technology to be able to support me and to be where I'm at today. And so that fear I have will never go away. But I know that for people like you that are working every single day to hopefully create a better future for myself and for other patients with scoliosis. And thankfully, scoliosis is considered a life-threatening condition, but for me, that was my story. And thank goodness it's not, because you guys would be a lot busier than you are. But I just think that that's so important to not look at this and think, we did it, we made it. Because yes, right now, I'm doing amazing, and I take every day as a gift, but the future is always on my mind and what that looks like. And so I hope that you'll take what you do every day and think, how can I make things better for patients like Michaela, who have really unique anatomy and who worries about her future? How can we ensure that better for her in what we do every day? And so I just want you all to know that, yes, I'm grateful for my medical team and all the people in the hospital, but there's people outside of the hospital that got me to where I am today who I don't even know. And so thank you to each and every one of you who have been a part of me being able to be on the stage and live the most fulfilling life that I possibly can. And so thank you all for allowing me to share and be here with you today.
So, Michaela, I do remember the first time I met you. Were you here earlier when I spoke?
Yes.
I said that Saturday was one of the best days of my life. And part of that was because I met you. In fact, you were one of the first individuals I met when I walked into the gala event. And I did invite you to be here. We didn't know it was going to be in San Diego, and I didn't know it's going to be your first time to see the ocean. How cool is that? I think that. Now, I have to correct myself from earlier. This is the new best day of my life and my career. So your story is so inspiring, and we are just so blessed to be here. And I can promise you that we will keep fighting for you. And as I said it earlier, one product, one procedure, one patient at a time. So thank you so much. Your story is so inspiring.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and Michaela, you've quickly become my superhero.
Oh.
Being here, it's incredible to hear the story. I mean, I talked yesterday, you heard me talk about our why, right? You've just hammered that home. You are our why. What I'll also tell you is that you're now part of our family, right? And our family...
You're stuck with me now.
I'm stuck with you now. Yeah. I want your number, by the way.
Okay.
But as part of family, we take care of each other, right? We learned a couple weeks ago about Chloe. And Russell and I are huge, huge dog guys. You've got an audience full of huge animal people. And the reality is, service animals are not just support, they're family. So we're making a $3,000 donation to you for whatever you would like in honor of Chloe. We love you, and you're part of the family now.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more hand for Michaela.
Thank you so much.
I'm I'm strong.